Hello, students. Welcome back to your history class. I am Mrs. Jaini Shah, and we are doing Chapter 11 Paths to Modernization. Today, we will start with the Meiji Restoration of Japan. Do you know in Japan, the surname is written first? Naito Konan, from 1866 to 1934, was a leading Japanese scholar of China. His writings influenced the scholars worldwide. Using new tools of Western historiography, Nato built on a long tradition of studying China as well as bringing his experience as a journalist there. He helped the establishment of the Department of Oriental Studies in Kyoto University. In Shinnaron, he argued that the Republican government offered the Chinese a way to lead to end the aristocratic control and centralized power that existed since the Sung dynasty. That was a way to revitalize the local society, and the reform must begin. He saw in the Chinese history strengths that would make it modern and democratic. Japan, he thought, had an important role to play in China, but he underestimated the power of Chinese nationalism. Now, Meiji Restoration. Throughout the Japanese history, Japan has stayed isolated from the foreigners. If you remember, Tokugawa meant isolation. Japan was isolated from the external world, and only Asian countries which escaped from, and it was the only Asian country which was escaped from colonization. Internal discontent coincided with the demands for trade and diplomatic relations. In 1853, the USA sent Commodore Matthew Perry to Japan to demand that the government sign a treaty that would permit trade and open diplomatic relations, which it did the following year. So, in 1853, USA sent a strong navy under the Commodore Matthew Perry to Japan to demand to the government to sign a treaty that would permit trade and open diplomatic relations. He is Matthew Perry. This is a map in a different way, where we see the United States on the right and China on the left. So the next year, the government agreed and it signed a treaty to open diplomatic relations. But why? Japan now lay on the route to China, which the USA saw as a major market. Why did the USA want it? Because Japan used to, Japan was laying on the route towards China from the USA, and USA saw this as a major market opportunity. Their whaling ships in the Pacific needed a place to refuel, and at that time there was only one country that traded with Japan, and that was Holland. Perry's arrival had an important effect on the Japanese politics. The emperor, who till then had very little political power, now re-emerged as an important figure. In 1866, what did the US want? Why? Because Number one, it lay on the route to the China. Then the ships needed a place to refuel. And that time there was only one Western country that used to trade with Japan, and that was Holland. Okay, what did the US want? Coaling stations, more trading partners, and a haven, that is a harbor or an asylum for the shipwrecked sailors. 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry opens up Japan to the Western trade. The Perry's arrival had an important effect on the Japanese politics. Emperor re-emerged as an important figure and it became more powerful. In 1868, a movement forcibly removed shogun from power and it brought the emperor to Edo. This was made the capital and it was renamed Tokyo, which meant Eastern Capital. Now, Edo was renamed as Tokyo. The officials and the people were aware that some European countries were building colonial empires in India and elsewhere. News of China being defeated by the British was flowing in, and this was even depicted in popular plays. So that there was a real fear that Japan might become a colony. Many scholars and leaders wanted to learn from the new ideas in Europe rather than ignore them as the Chinese were doing. Some others sought to exclude the Europeans even while being ready to adopt the new technologies that they offered. Some argued for a gradual and limited opening to the outer world. So now what happened is now Japan came to know that many Asian countries were being taken in as colonies, and so some of them, and then they heard about how the Chinese were defeated by the British. So now they wanted to. There was a ship. Yeah, this is Perry's ship. It is a Japanese wood. It is in the Japanese wood block print. What the Japanese used to call black ships, okay, uh, are depicted in the paintings and cartoons showing the strange foreigners and their habits. Okay, tar was used to seal the joints of the wood, and so they were called black ships. It became a powerful symbol of Japan's opening. Today, some scholars argue that Japan had not been closed. Okay, it took part in the East Asian trade and it had access to knowledge of the wider world both through Dutch as well as through Chinese. So now officials and people were aware that the European countries were building colonies and empires in India and everywhere else. And the news of China being defeated by the British also, they also heard that. And now the fear that Japan may become a colony became serious. So some Japan scholars and leaders, they wanted to learn the new ideas from Europeans. Others wanted to keep Europeans absolutely away, and some were, arguing. They were advising that let's open up to the outer world, not completely but limited. Now the government launched a policy with the slogan "Fukoku Krohi," rich country, strong army. Okay, so the new government also wanted to work to build what they called an emperor system. Okay, so the government launched a policy with the slogan Fukoku Kyohi. They realized that they needed to develop their country economy and build a strong army. Otherwise, they would face the prospect of being subjugated just like India. So, to do this, they needed to create a sense of nationhood amongst the people and to transform the subjects into citizens. They realized that they needed a strong government and a strong army, otherwise, they would be defeated. And for this, they needed to develop nationalism among the people and transform the subjects to citizens. The new government also tried to build the emperor system, that is, king, bureaucracy, and military were part of this system. An emperor was treated as a descendant of the sun goddess and the leader of westernization. His birthday was also declared as the national holiday, and he wore Western style military uniforms. Okay, so the new government now wanted to build something called as an emperor system. Okay, the Japanese scholars use this term as the emperor was a part of the system along with the bureaucracy and the military that exercised the power. Officials were sent to study the European monarchies on which they planned to model their own. The emperor would now be treated with reverence as he was considered a direct descendant of the sun goddess, and he was also considered as a leader of westernization. His birthday became a national holiday. He wore Western style military uniforms, and edicts were also issued in his name to set up modern institutions. The imperial rescript on education of 1890 urged people to pursue learning, advance public goods, and promote common interests. A new school system began to be built from the 1870s. Schooling was compulsory for boys and girls by 1910 almost universally. So, now we'll talk about the educational reforms in the Meiji government. So, it was universal and compulsory education system for boys as well as girls, and this was implemented from 1870. The curriculum was based on Western ideas, but emphasis was given to study of the Japanese history. The Ministry of Education controlled the curriculum, selected textbooks, and he also conducted the teachers' training. Moral culture has to be taught. Textbook taught the children to respect their parents, to be loyal to the nations, and become good citizens.
Mama, why not making everyone learn? Okay.
Let's talk about the administrative reforms. To integrate the nation, Meiji government imposed a new administrative structure by altering old village and domain boundaries. The administrative unit had to have revenue adequate to maintain the local schools and health facilities, as well as to serve as a recruitment center for the military. All the young men over 20 had to do a period of military service. A modern military force was developed. A legal system was set up to regulate the formation of political groups, control the holding of meetings, and impose strict censorship. In all these measures, the government also faced a lot of opposition. The military and the bureaucracy were put under the direct command of the emperor. This meant that even after a constitution was enacted, these two groups, that is, the military and bureaucracy, remained outside the control of government. So, the government faced opposition. So, new administration systems were made, and each administrative unit had needed to have sufficient revenue so that they could maintain the local schools and health facilities. Administrative unit also served as a center of recruitment for the army. All the young men over 20 had to undergo military service. Modern military force was also developed. Looking at the constitutional reforms, the government now set up a legal system to regulate the formation of political groups, control meetings, and impose strict censorship. And all these measures started to invite opposition. The tension between the different ideals represented by a democratic constitution and a modern army was to have now far reaching consequences. The army wanted to conquer more territory. It kept pressing for a vigorous foreign policy to acquire more territory, and this led to wars with China. So the tension between the democratic constitution and a modern army had far-reaching consequences. Over here, the army wanted to conquer more territory, and this led to a war with China as well as Russia. Both these wars were won by Japan. Okay, so the army kept pressing for vigorous foreign policy to acquire more territory, and so they had a war with Russia and China. And in both the wars, Japan was the victor, it won. Popular demand for greater democracy was often in opposition to the government's aggressive policies. Japan then developed economically, and it acquired a colonial empire that suppressed the spread of democracy at home, and it put it in collision with people it colonized. Okay, so now Japan became a colonial power. Okay, so which were the Meiji reforms? There were there was the land redistribution, westernized the school system, it modernized the army, it built a modern navy, emperor worship was intensified, human rights and religious freedom increased, there was a written constitution, there was a modern banking system, there was an abolition of the feudal system. Okay, these were all the reforms of the Meiji government. So here I am ending this chapter, this class. We will continue with modernizing the economy in the next class. Your homework will be to read the chapter from page number 235, the Meiji Restoration, till the page number 237. Till then, stay home, stay safe, take care, keep learning. Thank you.